I see a love within your heart, ancient and wise. I see a love within your heart, ancient and wise.
Well, thank you so much, Roger, for your time and for joining us in this 4th edition of Fashion Film Academy.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you for including me in this current edition.
So, tell us a little bit more about your background. How did you start working in this industry in fashion?
I'm going to sound old here. I started in the early 1980s in sewing and pattern making. Was actually my first trade into the industry, where I learned the construction of a garment. It actually started in sporting goods, where I worked with professional athletes on customizing their equipment for their sport, and then transitioned in the 90s over towards the business of fashion. Then spent many seasons working with fashion weeks here in Canada on strategy, on partnerships, working with designers, sponsorships, and then started consulting into the film industry, which then led into us acquiring the Canadian International Fashion Film Festival a number of years ago as well. So a bit of a wide background as a fashion broker is my day job into the industry, on working with all aspects of the fashion industry and the film industry in Canada and abroad.
So, regarding CANIF, how did this festival come about? When was it created?
The festival started about 7 years ago, actually in Calgary in Western Canada, and 3 brilliant women which traveled quite a bit and saw the European market and how strong it was in fashion film, and realized a gap in Canada and a need, and had started it in Calgary, and I worked with them on collaborations and partnering with fashion weeks and along with the film industry. And then our group acquired them in 2019, and we moved the festival to Toronto, which is a lot more of a hub for creative and film and fashion markets in Canada. So yeah, 7 years ago. We're still relatively new compared to a very mature fashion film industry across Europe.
Yes, in fact, in previous conversations, you mentioned how different the Canadian fashion film market is from the European one. What main differences do you see? In what aspects do you think both markets converge?
Yeah, we have more of a collaboration and a business focus. We don't receive government funding here in Canada for our festival, so we're very much reliant on the corporate sector, on sponsorships, on brand engagements. So we try and partner with the industry, both the fashion industry and the various sectors within fashion, from the designers to the PR agencies to the stylists to the editorial industries, as well then with the film industry. And it's not just the directors, it's the costume designers that are going on. It's just all aspects of film. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Canada is a major market for them, partly due to our lousy dollar. The European and American dollar goes a lot further here in Canada. So it changes our market, and it changes how we go to market. I'm a capitalist. I love to have the designers and the film industry make money. It's a reality of life. There's a massive charitable component to our festival, but we want our industry to make a living and to succeed in a global market. Canada, we are a small country of 37 million people, incredibly multicultural, but our reliant as a country is to export our products and services. And we keep that in mind with our festival as how we celebrate and profile the designers and the creatives, not just in Canada, but from around the world.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock. Outside, it's 24 degrees. Chucky's heartbeat is on a perfect average. You have no meetings today, and we are 7 days left to Fashion Week. Are you ready? You are not walking, you are catwalking. Walk like everybody is envying you. Fashion is a state of mind. Choose your pose now. Choose your better profile. Again, 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 and again. Be faster than fashion. Improvisation requires exercise. Repeat in your head. That dress will be mine. Repeat. No. Okay, another time. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Repeat, 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 repeat. Okay, let's try again. Take your mind to the next level. Feel the rhythm. All eyes are on you. It's time. Show your style. Feel your dress. Well done. You are the new black. It's time to test your real power. It's time to feel the light. It's time to be ready. Okay.
As you were telling, Canada is a multicultural country. In what ways do you see this plurality reflected in the fashion films submitted to the festival? What aspects or approaches characterize them?
Yeah, as mentioned, we are such a multicultural city and country, but I mean, here in Toronto, 52% of our population were not even born in Canada, 170 languages. We see cultural nuances as just part of our day-to-day lives of walking down the street, and we're literally the United Nations within this country and within the city. So with that comes the submissions that we get from around the world. There's a comfort zone on someone from Brazil or Iran or China or South America, South Africa, on submitting to us because they know we get it. We'll understand cultural nuances because they've got a friend, a family member that lives in Canada. And with that as well goes on the collaborations we do around the world, because they see Canada as a little bit more of a cultural hotspot on how we showcase, and that comfort zone on we're not one specific identity, which you know, the beauty of Europe is very specific demographics, have cultural nuances. In Canada, we don't necessarily have a specific Canadian cultural nuance. We celebrate cultural nuances from around the world. So it's you know, your question on the plurality, it fits that genre, not just here in Canada, but how we're perceived around the world.
Taking a look at the categories of other festivals, I've seen that Fashion Film Festival Milano has the Best Green Fashion Film Award. The London Fashion Film Festival has the Best LGBTQ Fashion Film, and Athens Fashion Festival has the Best Green. In CANIF, I've seen you have two categories that I consider fundamental today. That is Best Social Message and Best Eco Message. Tell us how these categories come about. In what ways are brands' social commitment and responsibility being communicated through fashion films?
As a fashion broker, I work daily in the business of fashion, and these issues, environment and social, are just part of my day-to-day job. I consult as well to a large Canadian-made apparel factory, and the brands that we produce garments for are very keen on where did the cotton come from, where are your workers, are they legal to work within the country, what is the social imprint, what's the environmental imprint, what's the ethical imprint as well that your factory or the factory you're working with, or the storytelling that we're going a part of.
My name is Aro and I am 12 years old.
11, 9, 6.
And I am smart enough to know that
Every minute we throw the equivalent of a truckload of plastic into our seas. That's 8 million tons of plastic per year.
in 10 days, we will have enough plastic to cover the whole island of Manhattan.
You may not have seen it yet,
But today, now, right at this precise moment,
there is a giant floating island of garbage.
in the Pacific. It's so big, it's 3 times the size of France.
France with its Paris.
Its blue coast,
Its monuments.
full of discarded plastic.
Full of garbage.
That's just on the surface, but also below is where 95% of plastic contamination is concerned.
Contributing to climate change and causing the melting of the polar ice caps, amongst other things.
Fish die, and the ones they do survive have plastic inside them.
We are also drinking plastic when we have a simple glass of tap water.
And so, it goes on and will continue growing and growing until it engulfs each and every one of us.
Under the surface of our seas. There are people working, trying to make sure this doesn't happen.
Men,
Women of all ages.
all countries, and from all walks of life, all working together without excuses. Where do you stand?
And we felt it was very important within our festival to showcase that and to celebrate that, and to see a different voice. Last year, they were just from all around the world. The ones on the environment, the eco message of the year was actually a Canadian fashion film that had won it. And as a festival, I have zero say on who makes official selection and who makes a nominee and who the winners are. We have a full-blown selection committee from the fashion and film industry, and our jury are absolute powerhouses around the world. So because of that, it helps that social message and the eco-environmental message on somebody in India. A jury member in India is going to see it differently than somebody in South America, somebody across the Asian markets. So we make sure that everybody's got a voice, and it's seen within that own environment. Where other festivals around the world, it's what's important to them, and we fully understand their social footprint and what they want to profile. We have 21 award categories. Our advisory board, we constantly discuss adding some, taking away some. We could easily have 30 awards and very important categories. but we're already a 2-hour show when it's online, and as our country starts to open up from this health crisis, are we having a 3-4 hour show similar to the Oscars? We can't. You lose interest. So even at 21 award categories, how do we trim it down? We'd love to add 3 or 4 more, which we can't. But we do feel the social and the environmental, the eco, awards are very important to us as we see these messages going on day to day within the fashion industry on brands being called out on what their social imprint is and what is their ethical imprint and environment as well.
So in relation to the festival categories, you also have the Best Student Fashion Film Award. Do you think that emerging talents are given the necessary attention and support?
Yeah, I've been a part-time professor for the last decade and a half at various colleges, universities here in Toronto. And every season I am just incredibly impressed by the creativity coming out of fashion schools. Yours no different. And as a 54-year-old guy, right when you think you've seen it all, you've got these brilliant young minds that see storytelling in a whole different way. They see fashion in a whole different way. They see how we go to the theater in a whole different way. So we very much want to support that. We actually, it's free submissions for students that want to submit to our festival. But with that as well, we also want them to land a job, to find that opportunity, whether it's with Netflix, whether it's with a Paramount film studio, whether it's within the Indian community as well, which is turning into be one of the top film producers in the world. We want to support that, and we want to make sure that we encourage them and give them a platform to showcase their talent and their skill sets.
Great. When I finished my degree in audiovisual communication in 2010, nobody has explained to me what a fashion film was. We had dealt with fashion from a photographic point of view or about the relevance of costumes in film, but nothing else. So I wanted to ask you, do you think that fashion education should be more integrated in universities according to each academic discipline, like law, business, philosophy, or literature, for example?
Yeah, I actually love this question, and it actually should be used way more than it is. And being involved with fashion my entire life and guest speaking and also being a part-time professor, I actually find a lot of the courses, not just within fashion, but across the various other disciplines, are lacking in critical thinking. They're lacking in the uniqueness of somebody to be given a different situation and how are they going to respond. The one thing about the business of fashion that people they're learning photography, they're learning salesmanship, they're learning to sell themselves, they're learning storytelling. We've all seen a beautiful black dress, we've all seen a great suit. How do we reinvent that every season? How are we going to tell that new story that it's going to make me look taller, more handsome, it's going to improve my life, it's something I'm a lot more comfortable in, whatever that story may be. But I find the other disciplines within schools are just focused on their specific genre, where the fashion industry teaches us so much more within not just the retail buying and merchandising and just so many industries, and well before this health crisis, we're going through such massive transitions, and we've been pretty much locked down for the last 2 years. And as we get out of this again, entering into society, what's the new genre? What's the new way of expressing ourselves within business, regardless of fashion, but within business, period. And a lot of the fashion disciplines over the decades and decades have incredible parallels within those industries. So yeah, I do believe there needs to be that parallel. Whatever that course may be, I don't have that answer. I'd love for somebody to come up with that, but 100%. And I'm glad you actually caught that comment.
And analyzing this format, fashion film format, do you think the audiovisual industry promotes fashion films enough, or is it taken for granted that it has to be the fashion industry itself that does it? If I'm not mistaken, there is no international film festival that awards fashion films.
Yeah, how do I answer that question? Let me backtrack, so I'll give you your guys time for editing. it takes time. You know, fashion films are still a relatively new genre of filmmaking. Diane, you know, which I have a world of respect for in Paris, when she had first started these, you know, many years ago, this genre of storytelling where fashion plays the lead character or in a supporting role has been around for a while. Its fashion weeks would always start with a little bit of a tidbit, but to actually do a festival highlighting it, you know, it was thanks to Diane for starting this festival, this type of celebration of it. As far as other festivals around the world, I do see it's going to be a matter of time, or whether or not they leave it on their own. I mean, here in Canada, Toronto, we have the Toronto International Film Festival, world recognized as the #1 film festival in the world, more so for consumer driven. The average consumers, it's celebrities walking our streets like average citizens, and we're used to it. There's not the paparazzi and whatever have you. But their concentration and their genre are full-length feature films. Here in Toronto, we have Hot Docs, which is world famous for documentary. We have Black Film Festival. We have the Jewish Film Festival. We have so many different cultural film festivals, and they're very focused within their specific genre of films, of storytelling. So to answer your question on fashion films becoming a category, I personally don't think so, because it is such a specific skill set. It's specific to hair and makeup and set and fashion as an aesthetic on its own, which delves into another question, you know, is what is a fashion film, which I'm sure you guys cover, you know, quite extensively, and even across the other fashion film festivals around the world. You know, what qualifies as a fashion film to us at CANIF may not qualify to another film festival, and vice versa. We've had fashion film submissions to our festival, that have done well at other fashion film festivals around the world and have been disqualified at ours because they don't qualify as a fashion film. So again, on your question, we have different qualifications even within the 47 fashion film festivals around the world as it is, let alone another film festival adding a fashion film of the year category. I hope it happens, because it only raises awareness to this industry, and I'm all for good competition, because it helps the world grow on this genre of storytelling.
Great. So the next edition of CANIF will take place at the end of November of this year. What do you expect to find in this new edition? Have any new trends emerged after the pandemic?
Yeah, last year our theme was community, and it was about let's help out each other. Let's put differences aside, collaborations aside, and really focus on the small network that we have of community, and just let's get back to our roots again. But at the same point, you know, going forward as far as trends go, I see a sense of a combination of frustration, but yet individual uniqueness. Never, I shouldn't say, but more so in Canada, but around the world, we haven't had this time where we've been forced indoors. We've been forced on whether or not you can go to a restaurant or not, whether or not you can go to a park on a sunny day. And with that comes frustration, and we're being bottled up, and we've got this uniqueness that doesn't stop. We've got this creativity that doesn't stop. And as we are coming out of this health crisis, I do see this combination of frustration, but yet uniqueness on creativity, on storytelling. And I'll be honest with you, we're still struggling with what that theme is going to be. And I think we have a bit of an idea on it, but it's that trend in the world right now we are seeing already in fashion films from last year and this year as well, that are coming across within that storytelling genre of I've got a voice. You may not disagree with my voice, but I'm going to share my voice through the use of a brand that I'm going to use as part of my fashion film, or a designer's collection that I want to share on a specific market within my business, to be able to share my frustration, but to share also my creativity. And if I want to wear lounge pants at the office now, I want to wear lounge pants. Or if I want to wear a suit in my living room, I'm wearing a suit in my living room. But that uniqueness that comes out of that.
Great. So in relation to narrative, what story or concept has caught your attention the most in recent years?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite questions that you have. It is, if I was to highlight it, it would be me. And if I'm not mistaken, that translates into Spanish as well. I don't think over the last number of decades we've really concentrated on me time, on taking care of yourself in your own mental health, on things you want to do, or being told by your partner in life or your employer or family, to go down this specific path or concentrate on this aspect of your life. Lose weight, put on more weight, I'll rephrase that. An aspect of life where put on more makeup, dress better, lose weight, do whatever, where this me time is just so critical within this environment we're in right now, that if you can't take care of your own mental health and passions that have been bottling up within yourself, we're doomed as a society. How can you help others if you can't help yourself first? And with that, the turn of the year, something that became apparent to me is this trend of slow living, of taking your time on and enjoying life. My wife and I are celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary this year. 5 years ago, for our 20th, we went to Paris, Barcelona, Venice, and I'll never forget, in Barcelona we went for dinner, and as traditional North Americans, we show up at the restaurant at 6 p.m. for dinner, and the owner of the restaurant and the chef is like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you here? We're still preparing the kitchen. We don't eat until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night." And I love that. It was a matter of, the sun is still out and enjoy the day. Sure enough, we come back at 9 o'clock and we have an incredible meal. It's 4 hours later. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and the owner is coming to our table, with a shot of liqueur and thanked us for coming. And it was just one of the most memorable experiences of my life, of not having to rush out of my table to prepare for the next diner coming in an hour and a half later. It was that trend again of slow living, of enjoying life. And it's one thing I love about Europe. I come from a German background, and my wife comes from a French-Italian background. But in North America, the industries and the businesses are just set for the go, go, go. Where the Europeans, it's part of the DNA on slow living, on enjoying the moment. Love those around you, enjoy a great meal, enjoy a great walk, enjoy an afternoon in the park, an afternoon siesta. I personally need that more in my life, that slow living and that me time. And I hope to see that in fashion films more so. And we very much see that in European fashion films that come through on the joie de vivre. I probably butchered that in French, but that enjoying of life and enjoy the moment.
I want to ask you, what's your favorite fashion film?
Honestly, there's so many for different reasons. One of my favorite ones was The Herder.
Mama rarira, mama rarira we, mama rarira, mama rarira we. yarize ngura, yarize mfite inzara, yarize mfite inyota, yarize banyica, oh mama. Mama.
Out of South Africa by Will Venter, and a young fashion designer. Kate Pipkin at the time was 25 years old. It was her first collection, and incredibly simple. Shot in the deserts of South Africa. 3 beautiful women, just incredibly natural, not a lot of makeup, but wearing clothing made from, you know, their environment, mohairs and cottons. And the sound, within the first 3 seconds of that video, my wife made a comment at the time, I remember to this day, I'm there, I'm in the zone, I feel like I'm in that fashion film. It just set the tone within the first 3 seconds. A famous fashion filmmaker, Victor Clermont, who's actually Spanish as well, and I have a world of respect as the man is a master at fashion filmmaking. But just the beats and the transition and the use of color, and I'm just glued within that. We employ, in fashion weeks for many years, what's called the guppy rule. The guppy, a small little minnow with an attention span of 7 seconds, where the average human being has an attention span of 6 seconds, which I love about fashion films, because every one I watch, they have to grab my attention within the first 6 seconds, or as traditional society, especially in a day, you know, addicted to the social media that we are, that, you know, we're channel flicking, we're swiping, does it grab my attention within the first 6 seconds? And that's just such a major challenge to a filmmaker, you know, to grab that. Dean Alexander in the United States, just another incredible fashion filmmaker, more for corporate brands that have given them budgets of $50, $100, $200,000, and just epic, absolutely epic scale of fashion films. Alexander King Chan in Taiwan, who does just incredible set designs. He had just finished his trilogy on social awareness and environments. His Kilburn film, which the set direction and the costumes. He's actually a costume designer himself. And the films he had done within this trilogy, Kilburn actually won with our festival, Fashion Film of the Year last year. And out of South Korea, Bloom on Tiptoe, which was a fashion film done on dance. And dance, Fashion Film of the Year, is a major category for us. We had last year David Jays, the editor-in-chief of Dance Gazette within the Royal Academy of Dance in the UK. And just the films that we had and the submissions we had because of our global jury as well. So the dance fashion films, again, from South Korea, from Brazil, from European markets, from here in Canada, never cease to amaze me as well. So that was a loaded question to ask me my favorite fashion film of the year. And Italy and Spain, for many years, have been tied for number 1 and 2 on the incredible creativity of fashion films coming out of those two countries as well.
And regarding costumes, what are your main references on fashion design?
Last year we received quite a few fashion submissions from whether they're Gucci, whether Christian Louboutin, they could go on and on and on. Yeah, just so many. But for some reason last year, Christian Louboutin really stood out for us. Set direction, actually, there was one, Deanna Jones in Australia, had actually won for set direction. And it was an incredibly simple set. And it's the one thing our global jury, which came from fashion and film and creative industries, were unanimous on, where this girl had created this fashion film based on cubism and cubes and color, and this one girl walking around with a number of pairs of Christian Louboutin shoes, but she sold the story to us on the uniqueness of color and simplicity, and whatever that genre was for that season. We received one based out of India, and it was a collaboration with Gucci as well. And it was 3 or 4 people just frolicking around in a park with their Gucci pieces, and it was fun. And you wanted to be part of that fashion film. One a number of years ago with Hugo Boss eyewear. And literally 35 seconds of a celebrity walking around a gallery seeing himself in pictures. And it's one of the things about the luxury brands, which were the first to start in fashion film many, many years ago, saw that genre growing, and how can we continue in this digital world of selling our story. And they were using fashion film well before brands were using fashion films. What have you. And aside from the luxury designer industry, we're seeing the hotel industry. We had one out of Dubai last year selling SLS hotels. We are seeing automotive companies as well using this genre of storytelling to sell their product or service. So as much as I love my luxury brands, I love seeing it go beyond that as well. Jana, the 5-petal story out of Dubai, another one. And they partnered it with Rome as well. It was Bulgari jewelry out of Rome. So talk about a luxury jewelry brand using fashion film, and the cinematography was stunning. It was absolutely stunning. And it was a short fashion film, and they used Sonam Kopar out of India as well, a famous Indian actress. And it just sold the story for us as well.
Regarding CANIF, can you tell us some anecdote of the last edition or some recent anecdote?
Our 2021 award season, we were still under lockdown here in Canada. So we pre-recorded the show and we did a virtual. Music video of the year is also a strong category for us. A number of years ago we had Jordan Oram who produces Drake's videos, Usher, Snoop Dogg, is very heavy in the music industry. And fashion has always played an integral part of music videos, which is why we celebrate the music video of the year quite heavily. Of our 5 nominees, last year 2 of our nominees were actually Canadian, and they were actually based here in Toronto. Carolina Lopez with her film Hero, which was a homage to her father who had passed away, and Danielle Doucette, who had done another film, but it was actually filmed in collaboration with her European partner in music. And Carolina, who's actually from Colombia, is a famous actress, moved to Canada and had actually won the Fashion Film of the Year. We actually had the 2 of them sing their songs live at the Stefan Karas Atelier. Stefan Karas, one of the top women's wear designers in the world, had taken over an old bank in Toronto, millions of dollars worth of a renovation into it. It's just stunning. Beautiful Coco Chanel staircase going upstairs. And we had the 2 singers sing their songs live as nominees. And it was a special moment for us to start to come out of COVID and to be able to share a bit of a live component, with our global audience. We would have loved to have had all 5 nominees come in and throughout the course of the show sing their songs. It's that entertainment value, and it's to be able to show some style and their personal style, and very much, the fashion aspect of it. One of the things I liked about Carolina's music video, coming from a Spanish background as well, and this homage song to her father, the floral wreath in her hair, which I understand is very much a Spanish culture on grieving those that have departed. And it was those cultural nuances that were new to me as well, which I love to have seen. So as we enter into 2022, we're looking forward to, what are the new cultural nuances we're going to share? What is the entertainment value as well for our audience as well? To celebrate Canada, but also, the creativity around the world.
You're also a board member of the Commonwealth Fashion Council. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm blessed to sit on the board of directors of the Commonwealth Fashion Council based in the UK, overseeing the 54 countries that make up the Commonwealth. India being the largest, Africa having the most members of the Commonwealth, the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, very much with active markets as well. We commissioned actually a report a number of years ago on the state of the industry of the Commonwealth fashion industries, but also where film plays. And India being overtaking China and the United States as the most films produced. The fashion is very much part of the Indian Bollywood scene as well. But we also notice gaps within the fashion film industry as part of the Commonwealth Fashion Film Commission. And how can we grow that? And it's something we'll be releasing in 2022 on some initiatives we are going to be doing. The Commonwealth Fashion Council actually sponsors an award category, Commonwealth Fashion Film of the Year, where Daniel Hatton, the CEO, is a massive proponent of showcasing the best of the best across the Commonwealth. 2 years ago was a film out of South Africa that won. Last year was a film in London that had won, but it is giving a lot of these countries that wouldn't have that showcase across the Commonwealth those opportunities. Kenya, an incredible film, The Fashionista of Kibera in Kenya a number of years ago, which had a number of nominees as well, which would not necessarily have had that platform, if it wasn't for other Commonwealth showcases. So part of that is their pillars as well on showcasing education, gender empowerment, and the youth. 40% of the Commonwealth is under the age of 25, and that is our next generation of thought leaders, not just in fashion and film, but in all markets.
Great. And you're also a board advisor of Canada Fashion Group, right?
One of the things we do with CANIF to inspire and to promote and to engage is we have CANIF chats. And during the lockdown, we did quite a few of them with filmmakers, designers, creatives from around the world via Instagram. And they were an hour long and just kind of back and forth on what inspires them. We've had Victor in Spain, a number of other ones from Italy. I had this fantastic discussion with a gentleman by the name of Aris, who is from Italy and is just incredible in CGI, in doing these digital fashion films that are 30, 45 seconds. And I'm having this CANIF chat with him and just what inspires him. And at one point I said, where are you now? It must be nice to be in Italy. And Aris says, Raj, I'm here in Toronto, around the corner from you. Toronto has one of the largest animation studios in the world for the film industry. I had no clue. That's actually in our own backyard. CGI is also another strong fashion film category for us. As the world is going into NFTs and the metaverse, and as we're talking about in the metaverse, I'm 5'7". In the metaverse, I'm 6'1" and a head of hair, and I'm wearing designer clothing. And it's going to be an interesting time as fashion films also evolve within the metaverse and NFTs. And what's the avatars? Next year, are we going to be having a discussion in the metaverse, on the beach, in the Maldives? It's the creativity coming out of this metaverse now, and the adaptations of CGI and how it's going to play into the storytelling of fashion. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Our graphic artist with CANIF, we have 15 interns, some in film, some in marketing, some in public relations, and our graphic artist is very heavy in the gaming industry. And I had an hour discussion with him yesterday going, Roger, the gaming industry has been into the metaverse and the avatars for well over 10, 15 years on, I'm buying a new skin, I'm buying extra lives, I'm buying new ammo. that's where the world is going to be going, very much within the fashion sectors, but in so many others, and corporate business. I'm excited to see where fashion films are going to go with that as well. And it's the wild, wild west, as they call it. There's no rules, and it's just pure creativity. So again, an exciting time for those coming out of university with fresh ideas on how we see life. Aside from this trend that I love about a me time and slow living, but it's also in the future how we engage. We're having this fantastic discussion as we're literally thousands of miles apart and continents apart, and the beauty of technology brings us together. Well, the metaverse is a whole nother element on how we can be together. Having this discussion on a beach with cocktails in front of us, with me with my flowing head of hair at 6'1", wearing designer clothing. I'm excited to see what the future brings, and I'm happy being bald, by the way.
Great. So, thank you so much, Roger, for your time and for joining this 4th edition of Fashion Film Academy. Thank you so much.
Absolutely honored to be involved with such a highly respected organization, and there's so many episodes that you have done on this, and I applaud you for sharing the love for fashion film around the world, through your teachings, through your schools, and excited for this next generation as well. So thank you again for including me in this.
Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
I see a light within your